Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is one of the newer members of the jazz faculty at the University of Iowa, who's got a performance coming up, Curtis Taylor. Curtis, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
It's not your first time at KCCK, but the last time you were with us, you brought a guest artist,
Yes.
and she was kind of the main topic. So this is kind of our first chance to visit with you a little bit, since you've been in Iowa now a little over a year, yes?
Yes. Well, coming up on a year in July.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're no longer the newest member of the Iowa Jazz faculty. So
Nope.
So you get to haze the new guy as the
He's not here yet.
He's not here yet.
Yeah.
But he can look forward to it.
Absolutely.
So, Curtis, you're a trumpet player, and you've got a gig come up. You're kind of kicking off the new space in Iowa City, the James Theatre.
Yeah.
Used to be Riverside Theatre.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes,
Okay,
it was
great.
the former home of Riverside Theatre for years and years and years. And now it's opening back up as a performance venue. So we're excited to have the space back.
Yeah.
And also excited that a jazz concert is kicking it off.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Their series is called June at the James, and they have great taste because they've chosen the Curtis Taylor Quartet to be the very first performers in the space. So I'm really excited about that, and really thankful that they decided to, have us kick off the June at the James series.
Well, we'll talk specifically about kind of what is planned for that night. Before we do that, let's talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about your life and career. Where'd you grow up?
So I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. Most of the time, I grew up in a suburb of Cleveland, Bedford, Ohio, which is southeast of Cleveland. But I say Cleveland because most people know Cleveland, Ohio. It's the major city.
And then did you go to school in that same area?
Yeah. I went to elementary school and middle school and high school in Bedford, Ohio. But actually, my high school years were split. I did what's known as a post-secondary enrollment options program. And that allowed me to, while still in high school, attend Tri-C Community College, which was a local community college. That allowed me to kind of take some more focused study with regard to jazz and music while getting those college credits while still in high school. So when I graduated high school, I had a significant amount of college credit already, which helped me, when I entered into my undergraduate program.
And where was that?
That was at Michigan State University. I paused a little bit because I know how folks feel about Michigan State University around here, and considering that I'm a Hawkeye now.
You got to be careful whatever you talk about. Well, we like to think, all in the Big Ten. We're all, it's all good.
Yeah. But I've had some spirited conversations with some folks, so just want to make sure.
And so when did you pick up the trumpet?
Picked up the trumpet at age 9. Learned about it, through school. We were very fortunate. Music was still in the schools. And we had an instrument symposium one day in our gymnasium. And they had a booth with all the different instruments, saxophone, trombone, trumpet, drums, so forth and so on. And I actually wanted to play the saxophone. But at the time, my family had just moved to the area and paid all of the fees associated with moving. And my mother spoke with my band director, and obviously she knew I was interested in music. But once she found out how much a student model saxophone was going to cost, and after all of the moving costs, it was like, well, my band director said, well, maybe you might want to consider trumpet. It's a little bit more affordable. And my destiny was formed from that. And now that I'm a parent myself, I completely get that decision that Mom made because she wanted to see if I was going to be serious about it before, spending that type of money and making that type of investment.
When did you know the trumpet was going to be your career, that this was going to be your life?
7th grade, 13 years old. Yeah. I actually can pinpoint the moment. So the teacher that I was studying with at the time, Steve Enos, Tri-C Community College, he was in concert with the great John Faddis, who was a protege of the great Dizzy Gillespie and known for his, high note and lead chops. And they were doing a concert together, and they just looked like they were having so much fun on stage, and it was just, you look around at the audience and they looked like they were having a great time. So it was just one of those kind of, surreal moments where I just was able to recognize everything that was going on in the moment. And I made that decision there, like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to make a career out of.
Well, and you've certainly done that. You've had many many brushes with greatness and opportunities to play with some of the greats across your career. A couple of them kind of leapt out at me when I was looking things over. Tell me about working with Cyrus Chestnut.
Man, the first thing I think about working with Cyrus Chestnut is his touch of the instrument. When you listen to Cyrus Chestnut, you hear right away his touch. One of the second things that stands out is obviously his spiritual background, his gospel background, which is very prominent in his music. And then beyond that, I mean, just a beautiful, beautiful cat, very soft-spoken, really, really earnest and about the music. So that experience was great. And it was actually so nonchalant how it happened. I remember the moment I was heading back. I was actually I'm doing my grad studies at Rutgers University, and I was heading home from the university one day, and I get a phone call, and Cyrus was like, "Hey, how you doing, man? This is Cyrus Chestnut. I got a gig coming up at the Kennedy Center, and it pays, XYZ, and would you be interested in doing?" I'm like, "I don't care what this gig pays. This is Cyrus Chestnut." I'm like, "Yes." And it was just so funny that, he called me so nonchalantly like that. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the connection. So Neil Smith, his drummer at the time, who was actually also from Cleveland, Ohio, he actually connected us, and he gave Cyrus my information. But now, even thinking back further, when I was in my undergrad studies at Michigan State University, Cyrus Chestnut came to our program and was a special guest. And actually, I remember sitting in with the Cyrus Chestnut Trio then when I was an undergraduate. So it was kind of a full circle moment for me to perform at the Kennedy Center with him a few years later after graduating.
Oh yeah, to work with him as a student and then get to come back and be an equal in the band. That had to really feel special.
Absolutely. I don't know about the equal, but I was happy to be on that stage. I'll tell you that.
Then a few years later, talking about connections, you hooked up with when you were in L.A. You hooked up with the producer who produced Gregory Porter's first album, and you got involved in that Liquid Spirit on the ground floor. Did you guys have any idea when that was getting put together just how massive it was going to be?
When we were recording the record, I knew that I didn't know it would win a Grammy, but I knew that it was going to do very well. If anybody's listened to Gregory Porter or you're a fan at all, one of the things that probably stands out to you right away, other than his incredible instrument, his voice, is just his lyrical content. And it's super, super powerful stuff, that he does with words. And, but he makes it accessible. So I think that's something that's like, he makes it seem effortless, but it's very, very hard to do, is to write something that's very accessible, but also is very deep, lyrically. So, in the studio, when we were, recording the record, and I'm just listening to him sing these parts, and, and then actually coming over to us and like singing the horn parts that he wanted. I remember on Musical Genocide, there was no music for it. He just sang the parts he wanted us to play, and we just figured them out in the studio, and then we recorded them. So it was a real magical moment. And Kamal Kenyatta, who's the producer, is someone who has just been an incredible mentor and friend. Honestly, one of the reasons I'm here in Iowa City, he put a bug in our jazz area chair's ear, Damani Phillips, about me, as well as my former teacher, trumpet professor, Derek Gardner. So both of them kind of formed a united front and was like, hire this guy. This has been a beautiful experience. And Kamal Kenyatta has been somebody who has been super supportive of my own career. And I'm excited to report that we'll be going into the studio in July.
Nice, because it's been a few years since your most recent CD, which is called Snapshot, and we've got that here at KCCK. And when did that come out?
2019.
Okay. Oh, just a couple of years.
Right before the pandemic.
I was going to say, so really in pandemic time, yeah. it just came out.
Right. I mean, the funny thing is, well, not so funny, is literally was going to record another record. I think it was March like 20th or 21st or something. But we all know what happened in March of 2020.
So, and then, so now you've also answered my question about how it was that you found your way to Iowa. Glad to have you in Iowa City. And now you're going to be performing at the James, as we said, on the 11th of June. And this will be with your regular quintet. Your regular quartet.
Yeah.
Tell me about those guys.
So incredible musicians in their own right. So actually another collaborator that I was able to work with a few times, actually through appointment with Cyrus Chestnut, was James Carter. And I knew of James Carter, and I had brushed shoulders with him in different musical settings, but I was actually able to be on a gig with him, with Cyrus Chestnut. We did a gig together. And through that, he ended up hiring me on one of his tours. Now, in my quartet is his current trio's drummer, and that's Alex White. And Alex White is from Detroit, so he'll be on drums. Bassist Jonathan Mearcotton, who is actually still a student, but he's just at Michigan State currently. But he is somebody that a lot of folks are using right now, professionals. The professors there are even using him on their recordings. Just incredible phenom on the bass, and a bright talent that I'm sure a lot of folks will start hearing about if they haven't already. And then the pianist, longtime friend and collaborator, Theron Brown, originally from Zanesville, Ohio, but he currently resides in Akron, Ohio, and he is the director of the Rubber City Jazz Festival in Akron, Ohio. So, and an incredible talent on the piano. So I'm excited to have all those wonderful musicians, literally some of the best musicians in the world, come to Iowa City to make it a special night at the James.
It is. It's one of the first performances of the new James Theatre in Iowa City. It's Curtis Taylor and his quartet. And you said they're calling it, it's a June series they're doing?
Yeah, June at the James.
All right. And I think you got 2 sets, yes?
2 sets, 7 and 9. And tickets are on sale as we speak. And I'm super excited about it.
Do you know what their website is?
The website, we're going to have to post that. Let's see if we got Google.
All right, hang on just a second. All right, so let me make a quick note, 1243. We'll just do an edit right there, and I will just, we'll get that, and then I'll fix it.
It's on the Google, but it's not giving me the website.
It's like the jamesic.com.
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
that's
cool.
right.
All right. So I will just ask that question again. What's the James website?
It's www.jamestheateric.com.
Oops, nope. I think it's just thejamesic.com.
The James.
Yeah.
The James IC.
The James IC. Yeah. What's the website?
thejamesic.com.
Well, Curtis, thanks so much for being with us today. Looking forward to your gig at the James Theatre with your quartet, and also your new music once you head back into the studio. And keep us posted on what's happening at the University of Iowa as well.
Will do. Thank you so much, Dennis.
You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio many weekdays at 10:20, or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture, or however you get your podcasts. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.